All right, we're on to round 4, and we have Project Conqueror's Irvine Artifact. Project Conqueror's, again, the team that held the Project Conqueror's Cup that myself and Boulevard casted a little while back, the French-based tournament, going up against OutonoDorado, who has top cut a Duels of Runeterra before, so good to see some returning faces as well as some new faces too. So we'll see who is able to continue on here and stay on this winning streak to make the top cut and give themselves a shot at one of these 6 spots for the Invitational. So without further ado, let's get into round 4.
Yeah, we're going to get to a point where Shyvana comes out, and I'm like, why did we ever... Like, if you're playing Lux Acel right now, you're dumb. You should be playing Dragons. That is the only Targon Demacia deck.
And it looks like we are about to get into round 4 here. Go ahead and swap on over to the game. We have game 1, OutonoDorado versus Irvine Artifact from Team PCS. So let's see who's able to get the better of the other in this game and who's got the better lineup here. It looks like game 1, we're actually going to start with the Draven Jinx discard aggro, and I can barely even see because of whatever bar he's got up there. It looks like pirate aggro is what we're going up against. Misfortune Gangplank.
Not quite pirate aggro, okay. And it's not quite Nav.
It's some sort of in between. I mean, it's got Jack the Winner and Captain Farron and Decimate, so
It does not have Jack the Winner.
Wait, am I looking at
it does not have Decimate.
Am I looking at the wrong deck? Did you queue up the wrong deck?
No, it's Irvine Artifact submitted it, but there's no Precious Pet in the list that I'm looking at.
There's Precious Pet in the list I'm looking at. So yeah, this is...
Where's the disconnect?
I don't know. I maybe clicked the wrong row or something, but this is definitely pirate aggro. It's just full on aggro. It's got a Brothers Bond, 3 Make It Rain, 3 Fervor, 3 Decimate.
See, is it weird to me that if I clicked on the wrong row because it says submitted by Irvine Art? Yeah, I clicked on it again, and that's what I'm still seeing.
Interesting. That's
all right. So I just don't have the right deck list somehow.
That's
okay.
Odd. That's really... Maybe somebody updated it in the spreadsheet, but somehow it didn't update on your computer. That is odd indeed.
Probably.
Seems to be the only rational explanation, but we know computers aren't rational, so, you know. We see the Dredger come down, or sorry, the Sump Dredger, I should say. And getting the crowd favor this early is pretty damn good with this wide of a field already.
I had to check like 6 times to make sure that, because the Bilgewater and Noxus colors are very similar on decks of Runeterra, similar to how Targon and Freljord are similar on Mobilytics. I had to check to make sure that like I'm not out of my mind, but no, in the list that I'm looking at, Jagged Butcher's the only one drop. So I just have the wrong deck. I'm going to close out of that so I don't confuse myself by talking about it. But on the side of Jinx Draven, it looks like we have sort of unilaterally decided that the go wide crowd favorite, play some Sump Dredgers, a little more mid-range style of the deck is the way to go. We know that Zero came out with the burn version, you know, still playing Boom Kuruki, still playing Legion Saboteur. It looks like he was the only one. Everyone else has sort of defaulted around this crowd favorite version.
Yeah, and I'm actually interested to see who comes out on top in this matchup, because I don't think we've actually seen Pirate aggro versus Discard aggro just head-to-head. We've always talked about which one's the better aggro deck, but it's very rare that we see them head-to-head like this. So it looks like, for the time being anyways, Outono has the better start here, getting a 5-wide field going into potentially a crowd favorite coming up.
Yeah, and I'm willing to just base the entire knowledge of my match off of this one game. Whichever one wins here will unilaterally. Like, it's just decidedly, objectively the better deck. I will not be taking criticism.
Well, duh. Isn't that how this works? Once one person wins, they're just the best. Like, no hands down. Yeah. That's it. It is what it is. So
yeah, if you want to be the best player in Runeterra, it's whoever won the last tournament. Yeah. I don't care how big it was. I don't care what the prize pool was. I don't care how many players there were. If you won the most recent tournament, you are the best Legends of Runeterra player. Just ask any, like, have you won more recently than I have? And the answer is no. That makes you the best.
It's like a 20-person tournament in like Alabama. Like, it's like I don't know why.
It's a digital card game, and you were like, yeah, we'll just put a region on it. Not even just a state. Showed up to a LAN event in Alabama.
Well, I don't know why Alabama. I mean, my girlfriend's from Alabama, so I think that's why I thought of Alabama, but...
Okay, so still a really good Make It Rain. Going to pick off the 2-3 health units. Even though it does miss the spider, you don't get to save any damage, but being able to kill those units is actually really big.
Yeah, and still keeping the 2 spiders on the field, though. And dealing a lot of damage. I mean, both players basically doing what the decks do best, dealing damage. Outono's slightly in the lead here. Also has 1 extra card right now over Irvine, which I do think will come into play, especially in this particular matchup. And I kind of like going the Zonite Urchin discarding the Vision into crowd favorite. It feels really awkward because I think in your head that you want the Vision to also be on crowd favorite, but it's never going to happen.
So it's a matter of, do you want that one? No, because it's not even 1 additional attack on the crowd favorite if you do it the other way, because he gets that extra attack from having the Zonite Urchin on field. So yeah, as you had mentioned, no way that you get that. Maybe contemplating discarding something else, like the Get Excited or the Augmented Experimenter, seems a little bit wild to me. I think you do just have to accept that crowd favorite's not the Viseed, as his actual government name is, just going to miss out on this Vision no matter what you do.
I think that, so just seeing how this is starting to play out, I think that generally the discard aggro deck is going to have the advantage, right? And I think it's mainly because of things like Augmented Experimenter. You know, the way that this hand is already playing out for OutonoDorado, you know, you drop crowd favorite, you have Get Excited next turn on the Flame Chompers, into the next turn being able to play Augmented and refuel your entire hand. I think that having that much refuel against another aggro deck is just always probably going to give you the victory.
If you asked for sort of my knee-jerk reaction of, like, how do you think this matchup goes, I feel like a lot of it actually falls onto the Make It Rain RNG. There are probably more 1 health units in discard aggro than any other deck, except for maybe Indoor Spiders. So when you look at it that way, it's like, can we get a big Make It Rain down before something like the crowd favorite comes down? Or as we saw in the last combat phase, can the Make It Rain really be a difference maker? Because if that had hit the 2 leftmost units and face, that would have been disastrous. It would have just pretty much been game over, as 2 more units would have lived at 1 HP. The crowd favorite would have been that much bigger, would have survived that Brothers Bond, pushed a lot more damage. Now we're going to see the refuel that you were talking about, and going to have a really good chance at lethal here, as the trying to think of its name, Flame Chompers, there we go, is going to get discarded and pull a blocker over to the side. And I'm trying to look at these attack totals. It looks like it is 14 damage currently represented by Outono.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you could also play the Get Excited, discard the Flame Chompers, and then also play the Draven this turn and kind of get a similar result, and then also have the Augmented Experimenter for the next turn. But I do think that because this is aggro versus aggro, you can't play any slower than you already are. So going a little bit more aggressive here, just going for I'm going to play one thing, pass it back over to them, and then attack is probably the way to go. And obviously, withdrawing as much as the Augmented Experimenter is, we already see another Get Excited being drawn, and now technically has lethal set up in his hand. We'll see if he can pull it off.
Yeah. So you heard it here first. Discard aggro, definitely the best deck.
Hands down.
Best aggro deck.
They won.
Cannot be understated how good the matchup is for this deck. It's just completely. I know that we've said that there's never been a 100-0 matchup. This is a 100-0 matchup.
Always.
You cannot win with the Pirate
100%.
aggro.
There's no way Pirate aggro ever wins here. Now we just.
Well, here, yeah, specifically.
Oh,
here,
well, yeah, all right, in this instance, yes. But ever, yeah, no, Pirate's just bad. So this just means Pirate aggro's bad now, and nobody should ever play it ever again. Yep, this is the kind of amazing content and, just
unbiased
casting and evaluation of decks that you get on this cast.
Look, I don't remember signing anything that said I had to be unbiased.
Dude, I don't think I'd ever sign anything in my life that says I have to be unbiased. I don't think you could possibly ever subconsciously not be biased. Like, it's just always gonna happen. Though we do see Parlay coming out, and I don't think that's gonna be enough to really do anything against this Get Excited, and there's actually nothing, I think, that Irvine can do now in response to this Get Excited. Can only kill himself instead.
One of the things we had mentioned when we were going into one of the first unified format tournaments where we saw Pirate aggro sort of make its breakout debut is that there's no Noxus overlap between a traditional Pirate aggro and a traditional discard aggro. Yeah. Here we were seeing both players play a copy of Brothers Bond, so that's a little bit of an overlap, but generally you're not seeing an overlap. And one of the big things that means is that Noxian Fervor is only in the Pirate aggro deck. And while it does play out very well with the barrels, I feel like Noxian Fervor is really bad in the aggro mirror. Because generally I'm not using my removal spells on your units. I'm just kind of racing you with that. And that means that I'm always going to have that Mystic Shot available for your Fervor. You don't have a lot of high health units to use it on. that are going to survive it. It's really just Imperial Demolitionist, and then more towards the top end, things like Gangplank and Jack the Winner. So generally, my Mystic Shots are going to negate your Noxian Fervors. You really can't afford to use your Fervors on my units, and it doesn't represent nearly as much face damage as something like my non-committal Get Excited does.
Yeah, and now we are going to see... So this is interesting. I was not expecting seeing a Nightfall aggro deck. So, yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned it briefly earlier. Outono going for more of an aggro lineup here, and this is the first Nightfall aggro we've seen. I personally like this deck. I think it's very fun to play, but I don't think it's the best aggro deck out there. But if Outono's kind of trying to target more of those control-y type deck archetypes, maybe this is the way you get it done by bringing Nightfall aggro as well as discard aggro and following it and just topping it off with scouts.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's a preference thing. I know that there are players that really like the Nightfall deck. Personally, I feel like in an aggro lineup, I would rather bring Endure Spiders because Freljord's nowhere in this lineup. Endure Spiders is still an aggressive deck. It should still be able to beat the things that aggro decks are looking to beat. But there, you do get a little bit more, I don't want to say card maintenance out of a deck like this. You get some different tricks, and there is something to be said for that.
Yeah, and so we actually... So we talked about the discard aggro versus pirate aggro, and so now we're figuring out, okay, is this the game that will decide if Nightfall aggro or pirate aggro is better?
Oh, is he gonna play that?
Yeah.
He knows it's ephemeral, right?
Uh-oh. Wait.
I thought he was gonna use it later on as a Nightfall activator, but it looks like he just wants to use it to push the damage.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a mistake or not. Yeah, that seems odd just to push the 3 damage. I mean, generally speaking, I got to agree with you in playing the Nightfall aggro. You do want to save 1-cost cards like that for Nightfall activators. I mean, he does luck out and draw another Solari Soldier, so I don't think that's too terrible here, but I don't know. We'll see. He's also got 2 Doom Beasts in hand, so definitely the possibility to do a fair amount of damage with just what's in his hand right now.
Maybe he was thinking, oh, you know, next turn I'm going to Fading Memories into a Nightfall card, so I'll just Fading Memories the Jagged Butcher again, and there's my turn 4 setup. But now because he does draw the Solari Soldier, gets to go for the Grenadier, and probably going to throw down the Doom Beast. Oh, Solari Soldier really throws off the feng shui of the tempo here, but, I mean, that is something you're not... I mean, it's like, if you're going to block anything this turn, you're going to have to use the Solari Soldier for it, or maybe you even just take this Grenadier and then use that. I don't think blocking with the Doom Beast is the worst thing in the world. You do still get that life swing, but I understand wanting to do it post-combat so that you just get a little bit more life out of it.
Yeah, we have the Misfortune effect going off. No question of where that's going to be on the stack in this game. It's going to do the damage, the 1 damage to face, as well as the Grenadier and the Jagged Butcher getting through here. So as it stands now anyways, Irvine seems to be in the lead here. Also has a little bit more tempo on board. I will say the burst damage out of the Nightfall aggro deck on the side of Outono can be pretty big, especially with something like Cygnus in hand. You know, if we're able to get this Crescent Guardian out on the field and have Cygnus also make it elusive with the Cygnus, especially with the recent buff to Cygnus, giving him more attack. That's a very...
And health.
Yeah, and health. That is a much larger swing turn than I think the Pirate aggro deck can actually come up with.
It feels funny to me that Cygnus got buffed out of Mystic Shot range during the patch where we're probably going to see Mystic Shot completely fall off the table. Death's Hand, really the premier 2 damage sort of removal spell in the format, but it is played in a fair amount of decks. TF Swain still extremely popular. Pirate aggro still generally plays a couple copies of the card.
Yeah, and we see the Legion Grenadier, it looks like.
No, it doesn't.
All right, that's another ephemeral hitting the board there.
At least this will set up for a Nightfall effect, though. So we are getting this down at an opportune time. But yeah, I mean, his opponent just has so much of the board. This Gangplank, you have a Pale Cascade for it, but that doesn't feel like what you want to be doing with that card. It is going to cantrip, so like it doesn't feel bad. It just doesn't feel great. But I mean, you know what else feels bad? Attacking when your opponent has an ephemeral blocker. You generally rather just end the turn and let them throw that card advantage to the wayside, but not going to be the case here. You do have to take this attack. It is such a good attack that you have lined up here. It looks like we're going to see a block onto the Petty Officer, and the Legion Grenadier says, you know what, actually, I don't want a Pale Cascade to kill the Gangplank. I would rather use this to push damage. Maybe even use it as an activator for the Cygnus on the following turn. And I'm trying to math this out. I think Doom Beast this turn puts your opponent at 11. If you open the turn with Pale Cascade and then Cygnus it, I think you are 1 shy of lethal.
I do. You know what? Honestly, I'm going to trust your math because my math is always poo-poo. So we're going to go with yes. I think you're accurate on that.
If we go for... I mean, the Crescent Guardian and the Doom Beast represent the same amount of damage in terms of, like, 1 combat phase. They're both representing 5 because, you know, this will hit for 5, but the Doom Beast gets the 2 drain first. So this is going to be a little bit interesting. Outono does have a little bit of over-the-top reach in a deck like this, though. If we see an Unspeakable Horror come out, or I think it'd actually have to be exactly Unspeakable Horror, just because we're not going to have the mana to play double Pale Cascade, Cygnus, and Doom Beast. So,
well, it looks like we can get the Crescent Guardian down this turn. This is going to be close. I mean, so with no attack being left on the side of Irvine, I don't know. Let's see. That's 2. We'll have the additional elusive. Is there any way that Irvine prevents elusives from getting through?
So if we play Doom Beast instead of Crescent Guardian, then Make It Rain will kill the Doom Beast.
Oh, because of the barrel. Okay.
And I think that's why we see the Crescent Guardian come out instead.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with that. And it feels bad, too, because we are going into turn 6 here, and you basically, you're forced into playing the Pale Cascade into the Cygnus. And if that's the case, so what's Cygnus at now? 5 attack, correct?
Yeah, 5 attack. So we are looking at 12 damage, but as chat mentioned, there could be... Oh, there's the Unspeakable Horror. So if there's no Zap Spray Fin on the side of his opponent, we could see this just be the end of the game. Of course, there are quite a few answers that Irvine Artifact could have here. You know, we mentioned the Zap Spray Fin. There is also Noxian Fervor. As you are completely tapping out to do this play, you are saying all of my shields are down. You know, it just kind of is what it is. I'm pushing 12 damage. I have the Unspeakable Horror for lethal next turn.
I do like this play on the side of Outono. I think he's very aware of what his outs are. We'll see if we have a Zap Spray Fin on the side of Irvine. If this does get through, that Unspeakable Horror is just enough. There's the Zap.
That's also almost certainly going to do it because that's going to grab either a Noxian Fervor or a Make It Rain.
I mean, there's some, like... really weird world. Actually, no, because I was gonna say Outono's not gonna be able to get the Doom Beast down in time. Actually, I just realized I forgot to change the match score too from the first game. I don't think he's gonna be able to get the Doom Beast out fast enough to really put his opponent within range of the Unspeakable Horror lethal. And I think he's gonna be at 2 anyways, so that Doom Beast would win the game. But I don't see a world where Irvine doesn't.
I think he's gonna be at 7. I think he's gonna block with the Zap Spray Fin.
That's. Okay, yeah, no, I think you're right. Okay. Yeah, so never mind. He's not even going to be close to within range. Or unless if he... No, because even if he pulls the keg with... it's not going to do damage. So, yeah, I think that's just going to be game, and Irvine's going to be able to take this one home.
But that means we get a game 3.
Yeah, which means we're going to see Nightfall aggro again. And I am... Like, when I see 2 aggro decks go up head-to-head, like, I don't know why I think this, but in my mind, like, the game doesn't matter for the overall, like, metagame. It's just like, oh, okay, 2 people brought aggro decks. Like, I wonder who's going to draw better. Like, is usually what I'm thinking in my head, like, who's going to draw their burn faster. But I am curious to see how this does against the non-ban deck on the side of Irvine in this next game here.
So, Outono... Oh, never mind, that's lethal. I was going to say, if we go for an open attack, Outono actually survives with the lifesteal from the Unspeakable Horror, but that Imperial Demolitionist is just going to be full-on lethal. Nothing that Outono can draw even gets a Solari or a Lunari Priestess. Sorry, mixing up my Solaris and Lunaris there. I apologize to any Targonians who are
avid Targonian fans.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got players that we specify with regions. You know, I think we were saying Black Boss is from... I think we called him from Noxus because of his insane Captain Farron race. We decided that he belongs in Noxus. BVG, of course, is Demacia. Yeah. No one's really stuck out. I mean, Targon's a fairly new region. It'd be wild if a player stuck out as Targonian. Agigas is from Ionia. That just that just kind of is what it is.
Yep.
I don't think we have players that are assigned to every region just yet, but
Yeah, no, not quite yet, but I think BBG obviously sticks out the most with Demacia and is usually credited with building a lot of the Demacia builds. But for this game anyways, looks like we will have one Demacia build going into this final. Or sorry, not final. I should say final game. I don't want it to sound like we're going into the finals yet. That would be a hell of a quick tournament. But we're going to have the Shen Fiora going up against this Nightfall aggro deck, and I do think this will be a pretty good test here for this Nightfall aggro. We'll see if Outono is able to take it home in game 3 here of round 4.
So Irvine is playing Spirit's Refuge. Let's get that out of the way. There's some big potential for big lifesteal swings on that side. You know, it synergizes well with the Fiora win con, and I think that this is a matchup where you can get that Fiora win con off. There's not a whole lot of removal in Outono's decks. You do have a few 2-attack units that don't pair super well into that. Let me check if there's War Chef in here. Nope, still not playing War Chef. War Chef is just completely off the table. Nobody is playing it anymore. Get it out of here.
Yeah, wait, what is that card? I thought we just discussed this, Boulevard. War Chefs is poo-poo now. Actually, I think War Chefs is actually perfect where it's at. I think it's actually still good. I think once other 2-drops are released for Demacia, people are going to understand, like, okay, War Chefs is still a decent card.
There are a lot of times where a card gets nerfed and then it immediately gets dropped off, and then about 2 weeks later we all decide, okay, you know, maybe it wasn't that bad. We start playing with it again and we're like, why did we ever drop this?
Yeah.
Maybe War Chef falls into that. I won't know for another 2 weeks. Actually, in 2 weeks we get another balance patch, so who knows?
Maybe we'll get buffed again.
Maybe War Chef will get nerfed again and we're all wrong, and they were just like, oh, it was actually performing still in the exact same spot that it was on ladder. There was no change. We had to hit it again. Now it's 1-2.
Yeah, I was going to say 0-3. Though we see the Fading Memories come out on the Bright Steel Protector here, going for some barrier shenanigans, it looks like, on the side of Outono. We'll see if that's going to allow him to push through damage, or at least, at the very least, trade with some of the units on the side of Irvine. This being any sort of Demacia deck, usually you don't want things getting out of hand with them going wide and getting too many units and being vulnerable to something like a Bannerman, etc., etc. There actually is no Bannerman in this deck that Irvine is playing. This is primarily focused on Fiora and Shen. We do see the 3 River Shaper in here as well, with things like Spirit's Refuge, 3 Riposte, Will of Ionia, and 3 Concerted Strikes. So pretty all in on this Fiora win condition.
So the Fading Memories onto the Bright Steel Protector tells me that Outono is really respecting the Fiora win con. Because if you're just trying to out-aggro your opponent, I think you play that onto your Lunari Duskbringer to facilitate your own Nightfall strategy a little bit more. But instead, we are playing respectfully. We say, you know what, this Bright Steel Protector barrier is actually going to come up a little bit later in helping me fight for the board. This is not a matchup that I'm just going to be able to smork my way out of. You know, I can't just go all in like that. I am going to need a little bit of help. And I think we might even see the Bright Steel Protector come down now and just get a pretty big attack turn. And I mean, this also helps you smork a bit. Now your opponent really doesn't want to block that 3-3 or that 3-2. They can't block the 2-3. Are you okay going to 10 Irvine Artifact, or do you want to lose a unit for nothing?
Yeah, and that's, I think, what he was hoping for, is that if his opponent plays the Fiora on this particular turn, they will be tapped out, which means not only will the Fiora not be able to block, but they won't be able to play a spell in conjunction with the Fiora to get a free kill on their off turn. Ooh. But Shen on turn 4 is super bad. Maybe, and I don't mean the movie, maybe Nocturne will come down. Hey, I had to squeeze it in there, man. It was a good movie, okay?
What was the movie?
Super bad. You never seen that?
Oh, no. I thought we were talking about, like, Definitely Maybe, which is a phenomenal movie.
So anyways, Nocturne might be able to take care of this Fiora just with that vulnerable attribute, but it's going to have to be in a window where, again, Irvine doesn't have enough mana to play some sort of protective spell like a Riposte.
I think Outono wanted to knock the Fiora down to 2 attack that turn with the Nocturne. He takes an attack off of them and gives them vulnerable, right?
Yeah, 1 attack to the whole field.
Okay, so yeah, I think he would have wanted to do that. The problem was that, you know, you do have this Solari soldier that's stuck on the field that Fiora still would have been able to kill. And I don't think you really want to trade your Nocturne for the Shen as long as the Fiora is surviving and still getting a kill. So instead, we're going to get down this Crescent Guardian, and now we do have a pretty good Nocturne turn that we will have to use the Nocturne or the Crescent Guardian to take out the Fiora. It's looking a little bit awkward, but oh, no, please Nightfall that. Okay, yeah, there we go.
See, he made the same mistake I make. It's like these cards work all the time, 100% of the time. It's fine.
It is a little, I mean, So I was gonna say it's a little bit weird that there's no like Ravoon for Nightfall, but I mean like Nightfall's on for 90% of the turn.
Well, that's
Daybreak.
so.
Daybreak's only there for the first
When
one.
I saw that announced, I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, so where's the Nightfall counterpart? Which they could theoretically have still released it. Like, you could play it as the first card in the turn, but I don't think that has enough value in the card itself to even matter. So
yeah. So now we've got, you know, we run this Crescent Guardian over the Fiora. Nocturne gets to push through this board because you only have 2 attack units. We might I guess we just attack with our other 2 attack units. One will push a little bit of damage on Shed, but oh, that's really bad for Outono.
Yep.
That's a fearsome blocker and an undying Fiora for the turn at the very least.
yeah, that's really crappy. And the other thing too is that if he doesn't pull the Fiora with a unit that can't die, then the Fiora gets a free kill because it will be able to block something likely. Yeah, see, so he's kind of forced into pulling it with this Crescent Guardian, I think.
Which I honestly like. The 3 health on your Crescent Guardian really doesn't matter into this board. You might as well push that little bit of damage. Everything has 3 attack. It's going to trade with your Guardian, whether it's a 3 attack or, you know, or 3 health or 1 health. Might as well throw it out. I don't know if we're throwing everything out. Okay, yeah, we're just throwing everything out.
He's just saying, screw it, we're going to go for the attack. He's holding back his... Okay. All right, holding back the Nocturne. All right, so I think he just wants to clear the Bright Steel as a fearsome blocker before anything. I don't... I guess you kind of... If that's your goal, you kind of have to attack with the Duskbringer as well, because otherwise the Shen would just suck up that block. So it kind of feels bad, but... All right, we'll see if that's the right play from Outono. I mean, Irvine is down to 11, so this is by no means out of Outono's realm of winning the game. I think this is just a Crescent... You always pick Crescent Guardian here, right?
Yeah, we've kind of got enough of the... Man, I looked up the card name of Lunari Duskbringer so that I would know it, and I couldn't remember Dusk Petal.
Oh, yeah, nope. I remember that one. I just can't say it. It does.
The reason I read that name so weird is because I realized why I would never know it, because it's Dusk Petal Dust.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Yeah, you know, say that 5 times fast. Challenge.
Dusk Petal Dust, Dusk Petal Dust. No, I got it. 1.5. I got to 1.5.
Exactly.
Oh, and now Shen's gonna level.
Wow.
Double open riposte on the side of Irvine Artifact. This is an interesting line. I like this, though. Gonna say, you know what? We're actually threatening lethal.
Yeah.
We have 15, what is that, 18 damage, 17 damage coming at you. You have to block with this Crescent Guardian. And without Atrocity in Outono's deck, I don't think he's got enough of a top-end reach in order to get this one out. Isn't going to have any board going into his Cygnus the Moonstalker turn. I mean, you can get down a Crescent Guardian. It looks like that's going to be your best bet. And then you are, once again, just kind of 1 shy of lethal.
Wait, is he 5? And yeah, he's going to be 1 short. And, you know, you mentioned Atrocity, so I was playing this deck personally without Atrocity for a while when it first, when Call of the Mountain first dropped. And then eventually it was like, nah, you just want Atrocity in this deck. Like, it's just an easy finisher, 5 damage, even though it's, 6 costs for 5 damage, or potentially a little bit more if you have Diana on the field. It just does so much. And it feels so good, not gonna lie, it feels really good to get Diana up to 9 attack, and then Atrocity it. It feels like you really worked for that.
Diana here is lethal with Cygnus. She's just going to go up to 7. Did Outono find it? The pass is scary.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of things that... Well, actually, there's not a lot that Irvine can have here, right? It's got to be just single combat. Well, no.
He has
Never mind. He plays Will of Ionia.
Yeah, he has Will of Ionia. He has Concerted Strike. He has single combat.
Okay, so about 7 answers in Irvine Artifact's deck. Does have 3 cards. It's not impossible that Outono does slip this one through.
All right, with only 3 cards, maybe, but we haven't seen...
It's not... Look, it's definitely not
impossible.
No,
it's not impossible. No.
It's not likely.
Statistically speaking, though, we're looking at, maybe a 10% chance at this point that Irvine doesn't have the cards in hand. So now it's like, do I challenge? Do I challenge?
You just attack with this Crescent Guardian too, right? I think you're pretty happy to get any of those units off the board.
Yeah, because it's less damage that you take to face. So and it technically will deal 1 more damage. The problem is if you allow... Actually, no, because you lose to a single combat or Concerted Strike anyways, and Fiora, that means Fiora's going to get an additional kill anyways, so I don't think it matters sending in the Crescent Guardian. I think you just go for it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, actually going to pull the Fiora to ensure that it potentially dies. So let's see. Does Irvine have the single combat or the concerted strike or the Will of Ionia? And
oh, he's got a repost,
wait.
and if that's a single combat as well, that means nothing. And Outono does it.
He does not have it. And Outono gets up. He's like, holy crap. And we didn't see a single combat or concerted strike come out the entire game. Wow.
Incredible.
That's insane. So that, hey man, where there's a will, there's a way. There was a 10% chance. Well, that's still 10 more than 0, baby. That's exactly.
Still thinking Door Spiders is better.
All right, and that's going to wrap up round 4. We're going to have 1, 2, 3. Math is always hard for me. 3 more rounds for day 1 here. So we're going to keep going with that content for you guys. But as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.